And thank you to our witnesses for being here today. As a member of this committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee, I have a strong interest in identifying and advancing common sense measures that strengthen our communications infrastructure and counter the threats posed by adversaries like China, Russia, and Iran. Mr. Stalin, first of all, welcome south. I'm happy to have a resident of New Jersey's 7th Congressional District here, and I'm glad you were here to share your expertise. I understand the team telecom process can be burdensome and cause delays. What are the obstacles that burden or delay deployment of additional undersea cables?
Thank you, sir, for that question. And I've been a long-time resident of East Amwell in the 7th District, 32 years in the same house. So NTIA should be the lead in team telecom. They are the president's advisor for all telecom issues. Absolutely, the DOJ, Department of Defense, Department of State, DHS ought to be involved as well. But looking at it from the perspective of how we improve our telecom systems ought to be the first and lead of any type of evaluation. So that type of change would improve the permitting duration. Today it averages over 400 days, some cases as long as 900 days to get a permit, and often before it even gets to the FCC for the final approval. So this long, drawn-out process occurs before the FCC even sees the application. By fundamentally changing that and looking at it from the perspective of how can we improve our economy rather than a Justice Department that maybe has a different perspective on things, I think that would go a long way to improving it.
Okay. And what steps can we take to keep the U.S. as an attractive place for vendors and suppliers across the communications technology sector to do business, create jobs, and innovate here in the United States?
We ought to reward trust, reward investment, and we ought to point out with a big spotlight those that are not trusted and encourage both the United States and our friends around the world to not buy from folks that are not trusted.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Sharp, I agree that it's important to maintain leadership within international standard-setting bodies. In your view, what should American leadership and investment in these international bodies look like to best counter China's efforts to advance its own agenda, particularly in the satellite industry?
Thank you for the question. I think one of the first opportunities is relating to WRC 27, making sure that the United States has positions that are supportive of the satellite industry and that they advocate them with their international counterparts at WRC 27. If there is a void, China most definitely will step in. The same is true with respect to other standard-setting opportunities. If we are not participants, China will definitely take advantage of the opportunity.
Okay. And can you talk about whether satellites could play a role potentially as a redundancy in the event of or failure of or attack on undersea cables?
Yes, absolutely. So I gave as an example previously, the government of Taiwan is making arrangements with multiple satellite operators, bringing in the terminals so that should there be a cut, there is an immediate transition to satellite capability. So the benefit of satellite capabilities are our infrastructures in the sky, so they're not subject to something like a cable cut.
No. Thank you. And Mr. Stalin, I appreciate your discussion of strong supply chain security. What are the safeguards against, hypothetically, a previously trusted supplier or vendor suddenly being compromised by an adversarial actor? In other words, how can we make sure that trusted suppliers stay trusted?
Continuous verification of trust. So having a certification program that a company has to go through on a regular basis to ensure that the processes they're using are trusted and ensure that the company itself doesn't have injunctions against it since the last time it got certified. Okay. Those types of things are really important.
Okay. Thank you all for your testimony, and I yield back.